Where can you move in the world for a simple bank deposit? That's going to be the topic of today's video. Hi everyone, so if you're an expat or a high net wealth individual, go to infuriated.com and see how we can help you. Now on today's video, I'm going to talk about a very simple topic. I've talked about second residencies on my channel once or twice, or probably more than once or twice now. And I have been asked a question by one or two of my followers, and that's, yes, but I don't want to start a business in a foreign country and I don't have enough for a very expensive investment program, an investment visa. So how can I actually get into some countries with just a simple bank deposit? So I'm going to talk today about some of the options that exist and the options that exist at different levels. So for example, at the lower level, you can get into Panama with a very small bank deposit. And that is true also in Paraguay and one or two of the other Latin American countries. Not all of them, but there are quite a few in the region where it's very accessible how much you can put into a local bank account and you can get a residence visa. However, some of those programs are changing. I think Panama's making big changes to their program, and also it depends on your nationality. So for Panama, for example, they've got the friendly nations visa. So if you're from certain countries, it's easy, but not if you're from other countries. Now, at the higher level, Monaco has a very good program. So a lot of people assume that Monaco must be millions, like Singapore, it's about 2 million. But when it comes to Monaco, you have to put 500,000 euros into a bank account, which is about $600,000. And that's much cheaper actually than a lot of other countries of that higher level. However, if we look into some of the kind of medium level programs, one of the best programs that used to exist was the Malaysian MM2H program, the My Malaysian, I think it's called the My Malaysian Second Home. It used to be just for retirees, but then it was extended to younger people as well. However, right now, because of COVID, it's on hold, but I think it will come back in the future. Thailand next door also has certain programs like that. And the thing is, with those kind of programs, they appeal to people who maybe don't want to spend as much money as they would having to go to somewhere like Singapore, and often for like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 they can come into those kind of countries. So the Malaysian program, you could put about $60,000 or $70,000 into a local bank account. It had to be in ringgits, and obviously because it's a ringgit number, depending on the exchange rate, that would determine exactly how much you have to send. But you had to keep it in for 10 years. There were certain circumstances you could take it out, like medical emergencies, I believe. And you could get interest off that money, like 3 or 4%. But the negative about that program, though, was that you could only keep it in the bank. You couldn't use that money to, say, invest in more productive assets. You had to keep the money in the bank for a long period of time. So indirectly, a lot of people actually missed out on investment returns. So one thing I would say is, if you can help it, don't put loads of your money in the bank. So obviously it's a loss to inflation, but I do understand that if you're looking to move to another country, it's very convenient, right? If you can just put money in the bank and you don't have to set up a company or do something like that. There are a few other programs you might want to consider, but I would say those are the best ones. If you want to go down the real estate route, there's many options. Georgia has one option where for $100,000 or more you can invest in real estate. Likewise, there are some options in Europe like Montenegro where you can invest in real estate and get residency. So what I would do is, if you're looking to change your residency by investment or by a bank deposit, I would carefully consider 3 options. Option 1, the countries that allow a bank deposit. Option 2, the countries where you can set up essentially an on-paper company. So we talked about Malaysia before, and in Malaysia you can set up a lab grown company for like $2,000 or $3,000. It could just be an on-paper company, and you can actually sponsor yourself, for a work permit. And option 3 would be an investment through real estate. I haven't always been a fan of real estate, but if you can get residency through it, then that's 2 benefits attached to the real estate, not just the investment component, but also the residency component. I do think this is going to become a bigger thing as more people can work remotely. An increasing number of people are going to want to save on their taxes and maybe cost of living. So what I would do though is, if possible, I know this is more difficult during COVID times, I would actually spend a reasonable chunk of time in 2 or 3 countries. So if you're thinking of, for example, I don't know, Malaysia versus Thailand or Panama versus Mexico, I would actually spend 2 or 3 months on a tourist visa and actually spend time living a little bit like a local, or how you would do when you're an expat. In other words, get an Airbnb in a normal location, don't live in a hotel, go to the expat events, meet locals, do things that you might do on a normal day, see how the Wi-Fi works in those kind of places. Really familiarize yourself before moving. That's much more difficult during COVID, but if you can do it, because a lot of these countries are open, then I would do it. How can I help you? In two ways. First of all, are you an expat, a high net wealth individual, or just somebody who lives in a part of the world where it's difficult to get access to quality investment solutions? In which case, go onto my website on adamfayed.com and find out more. If you don't fit into any of those categories, then in which case there's a range of free material on my website, on this YouTube channel, and indeed on my Quora, where I get over 200 or have received over 231 million views in the last few years. And finally, if you want to actually read my thoughts in more detail, go onto Amazon and find my book on there.